In this video, I want to talk about what are Git aliases, why do you need them, how they can do your workflow with Git more efficient, and what aliases I am using by myself based on my 10 years of experience. Hi, I am ekaterina from Monsterlessons Academy, where I am teaching you how to become a developer or improve your skills of being a developer in learning by doing way. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will link everything that I'm mentioning in the description box below. So let's jump right into it. And the first question is, what are aliases in Git at all? So actually in Git you are writing some commands like git status or git commit or git push, and you can create aliases for these commands, which means you can create some small shortcuts for you to write less code with Git. So actually let's look on the example. So here I am in the official website of Git, gitscm.com, and here you can see the section about Git basics, Git aliases. And as you can see here, there is the example of most popular aliases. You can see here we have alias for checkout, branch, commit, and status. And here are how we create our aliases. So it's git config, then -- global to write this in global config, and then alias dot and your alias. So in this case, my alias will be not checkout, but co, which means I can just copy this line and then paste it inside my terminal. So here is it. And what this command will do is add new alias to my global git config. This is it. And my alias will be co for checkout. Now I can write, instead of git checkout and the name of the branch, simply git co and then the name of the branch. So it is much faster, and this is exactly what alias is. And actually what you see here are the most popular aliases which all people are using when they just starting to use Git. Because this is written in the official documentation, they just pasted it inside their own Git config, and this is it. But of course you can create other aliases which are based on your experience and your workflow with Git. Actually, as you understand, this command is not mandatory. This command will just update your global git config. So you can actually jump to your own git config in your home directory and just make these changes there. So let's have a look on my git config. So here I opened it. As you can see, it's in my home folder. This is file.gitconfig. If it is on your Windows machine, then it will be in some user folder of your own user. In Linux and macOS it's the same. It's home directory.gitconfig. And now here I have a lot of stuff. But in this video we will focus only on alias. As you can see, here is my section alias. And this section is starting with the brackets. In this alias we are writing all our aliases that we are creating, which means after writing this command, new alias will be created. And as you can see, I have something on the left, for example, branch name, and this is alias that I want to use. And on the right, I have a command. As you can see, for me, I have quite a difficult alias, but we can start from some small ones. For example, actually this co alias that you saw here, like alias co, this is how it is writing inside my git config. So here I have alias co, and this equals checkout. So it's not mandatory to write these commands here. You can simply open your git config and update your aliases there. And now is the most interesting part. I want to show you my aliases, which I created like during the last 10 years. And of course I didn't create them like at once in 1 week. It was a long process of improving my workflow with Git. This is why I always recommend to start small, just add a bunch of aliases that you try, then you will stick to it and you will get a muscle memory. So you just use aliases and you don't think about if you need to use it here or not. So let's check this out. First of all, what I can say is that just writing aliases with Git is quite verbose. Actually, this means that every time that you want to write some command with Git, you need to start it with word git. For example, if you have alias, then it will be git foo or git st or git checkout or whatever. But this word git will be always there. And of course, I don't want to type git every time, at least because I know that, for example, I want to start all my commands with just J, which means actually that J means for me git. And then I can write here, for example, JCO, and this is the same like git checkout, but it just takes less symbols to write. So I don't need to write git co and then the name of the branch, but I can just write GCO. But it's not possible to do like this just with plain git, because if you just write your aliases inside git, then you need to write them with git prefix. So we need to make use of our terminal, and for example I am using ZSH, so I can write some aliases for ZSH itself. So I have a mix between git aliases and ZSH aliases to improve this git workflow. If you don't use, for example, ZSH, you can do the same with bash or, for example, fish. So let's look on my aliases, which are most useful for me. So as you can see on the bottom, I have two open files. The first one is gitconfig and the second is zsh.rc. So let's first have a look on ZSH. As you can see here, the most important alias for me is alias j equals git, which means actually I can just simply type all git commands with just one symbol. So here is J status, and this is the same like git status. So it's just less code. And actually you are using like git every day, so it makes sense to bind it to just one symbol. This means actually that this is already faster than writing commands. But of course I want to use some commands. So let's check this out. I have here, for example, in ZSH, gs, like git status. And as you can see here on the right, this is the command with git, and this s command, of course, doesn't exist in git. So we need to go and check my git alias. So let's jump in gitconfig and here check what I have with s. So here I have status, and as you can see, this is the special command, git status ---- short. So actually, when you create alias, you don't need to write here word git, you simply start with the word of the git, that is like command. So here actually I just use the plain status, but I want to see the short form, so it's not verbose. Actually, this is the difference. Git status is looking like this, but for me gs is looking like this. So you don't have any output if nothing is shown as changed files. And if something is changed, this is the same like git status ---- short. So it just saves my time. The next interesting thing is how I commit files. So normally when you write some commit, I'm using it like this. So git, then -im, and then here I have some message like foo. It will add all files which are tracked to the commit, and then with m we can write here the message of the commit. And I'm using it like every day and only like this. So this is my workflow. This is why I wanted to create some good shortcut. So let's check this out. Here I have somewhere gc. As you can see, this is git commit, and I have here git commit -am, which is exactly what I typed like a second ago. So I can write here gc, and then here will be, for example, work in progress, which means this will create the commit, add all untracked files if they are there, not untracked but tracked by git to the commit, and here is my message. As you can see, I didn't type that much. The next important commands are git pull and git push. So let's check them out. Here I have somewhere gpl. As you can see, this is just alias for git pull, so nothing interesting here. This is just less typing. But git push is more interesting. As you can see, here is the command git publish. And command git publish does not exist in git at all. So let's go check in my git config what is the alias publish. So if we check publish, as you can see, it's quite a long line here. And this is really nice because you can create quite difficult aliases to save your time. So what's going on here? It pushes the current branch to the remote origin. So this is why here is origin. And we are setting an upstream. If you don't know what upstream is, the idea is that you want to push your local branch in the same branch inside origin. And actually to do that, you need to say git push origin and then the branch name. And this is exactly what this command is doing here. As you can see here, I have another command, git branch name. And this is my special helper. So here we can find branch name. And this is the git command, which just gives me back the current branch. So we can check it here, git branch dash name will give me master. And actually I'm not using this command on its own, but this is really nice to use it, for example, inside publish. Why I need this command at all? Normally when you create some feature and you just try to write like git push, then you will get an error. Something like Git will say you don't have the branch in remote which is tracked by your local branch, and you need to track it first, which means you need to write additional command to track a branch, and only then you can push without writing git push origin and the name of the branch, which is really verbose. So git publish is doing everything on your own. So it gets the local branch name, then creates upstream and push this branch there. And this is git publish. And here is my alias gp. So I'm just writing here in console jp, and I'm pushing my local branch to remote. Now, one more very important alias is how do we create the new branch. So normally we're writing like git, then checkout, then -b, and then the name of the branch. Which means actually that we want to switch to the branch foo, and -b means that we want to create it. And this is really verbose to write every time to create new branch. And secondly, it's like makes zero understanding for me, like checkout -b doesn't bring clarity that this is creating of new branch. So what I did is create my new alias G and B, and here is creating new branch. So this is like git NB, and here we can check what is NB. This is just checkout -b. So this is the same like we're typing here, like git checkout -b and then the name. I'm just writing here git new branch foo, and it will create this branch and switch me to that branch. So this is really efficient. One more thing is how I'm checkouting to different branches. So here we can check it. I have git checkout here. I have two commands, gco, which is just git checkout, like a shortcut, and I have gcm, so git checkout master. So I think gco is clear. This is just switching the branch, for example, some other branch, and we're here. Actually, it's not known because it's other repo, but actually I'm switching to master a lot, and master branch is like working in every project, which means normally you don't want to type like git checkout master, especially if you're doing it like 100 times a day. I'm just typing gcm and I'm inside master. So this is really convenient. Now, how can I add files if they are untracked in Git? So I just created some feature and I want to add some new files which are not in Git. Normally we're writing git add and then the name of the file or dot just to add all files. So this is like the standard process, and every time when I'm working and I want to do a commit, I'm just writing git add dot and then git commit -m and then here some commit message. And actually this is really long. This is why I have an alias JAA, and this is git add dot. And actually I normally don't use git add without dot at all, which means normally I'm writing JAA, and now when we want to commit it, GC and then the name, for example, work in progress. And this is it. As you can see, this will add all my files and this will make a commit. Now, one more important point is how I'm working with stash. So normally we want to put something in stash and to read from stash. So we're writing like git stash if we just want to store our local changes and, for example, we need urgently to switch to other feature. And then we can write git stash pop to just get last changes from the stash. So these are two commands that I'm normally using, and for this we have here git stash pop and git stash. This is just aliases, and actually git stash list I am not using that often. So I'm writing gst and gsp. This is it. Also, of course, we want to see the log. So normally we are writing git log. As you can see, this is my own project. This is why the commit messages are so ugly, like work in progress everywhere. And these are just the standard git log. It's not the best one because we are missing graph there. Normally we want to see graph like git log -- graph, and actually date short also is really nice because it looks better. So when I'm hitting it like this, then my date is looking like shorter, and here we have the graph. You can see the stars here. Actually you see them like flat because I don't have here any feature branches. But actually if you have feature branch, then you can see that the stars go like on the right. Here you have like arrow, and then it goes back. So actually I prefer to use git log like this. This is why I have here alias gl, and this is git l. And actually git l of course doesn't exist. This is why we can check here somewhere I have git log. Here is log. Yes. And as you can see, log is just l -- graph and date short, which means you can really easily create aliases that you want to use and just create your own or copy from other people. So here I have recent branches command. So here if I will check it, as you can see, this is like impossible to remember. So as you understand, this command just gives last 15 branches where I was before. So here git for each ref count 15, it is impossible to remember. So you just paste it here once and you use it always. So what I can do here is write git recent branches, and here you can see the list of the branches. Actually, I didn't write it correct. So recent branches, as you can see, this is only master. But if you was like in 10 branches in this project, for example, let's create some branch foo, and then we create sub branch for bar, and then here we write git recent branches, and as you can see, this is bar, foo, and master. This is really convenient if you switched your branches like several times and you don't want really to dig inside git branch at all, because you may have here the list like 100 branches and you just want to switch to some branch where you was 5 minutes ago. Then you have here git recent branches, you see the list, you just copy the name from here and then you write git checkout and the name of the branch. And now some fun stuff for the end. So here I have something which is called snapshot and snapshots. What it is doing? Actually, this is something like git stash, but as you can see here, we're saving it with the name. So here is snapshot, and then the date, and then git stash apply. And then we have the same to see all our snapshots. So what is the idea? So we have some changes here. Now we don't, so I will create just one file here. And now we want to stash all our files. So actually for this we need to write git add, just that this is inside our git. So now this file is tracked by git. Now, as you can see, I can write command git snapshot. So I'm writing git snapshot and I'm hitting enter. And what's happening here, saved working directory and index state on master. And this is the name. So here is Tuesday, this is the date, and you have here name snapshot. And now we can write git snapshot with s at the end. And as you can see here, you have all your stashes, which you wrote through snapshot. So why do I need these two commands? So normally when you are using stash, you just write like git stash and maybe you wrote it like several times. So actually you have like 3 parts of your code inside stash with some not clear naming and of course without date. In this case, I can always write git snapshots and I see all my snapshots of different parts of my application. So for example, I did one snapshot yesterday. So here I see at what branch I did it, and this is a snapshot and this is the date. So actually it's much easier to understand what I did when and restore the changes that I need. Actually, I'm using a lot this git snapshot and I don't use this alias for git stash just directly like git st and git sp that much, because it is easier to work with snapshots. I understand that there were quite a lot of aliases and it was quite overwhelming. Actually, this was only for the purpose of showing you how flexible Git aliases are, especially if you are mixing them with your ZSH or Bash configuration, because then you can write in your console whatever you want. And as you can see, Git aliases is really super powerful tool. But of course, you should not just copy all my aliases and try to work with them at once. If you like them, just copy a bunch of them, like 2 or 3, and then use them several weeks. Then they will come in your muscle memory. And even better if you will create your own aliases for your own purposes, because actually nobody except me can't use my aliases efficiently, because I just created them in a long process like 10 years and I improved it from time to time. And you can do them on your own. And actually I have the full Git course about all the knowledge that you need to know in order to work with Git every day. So I will link the link to this course in the description box below, as well to all my other courses. And if you like this video, don't forget to put thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you in my next video.